people? This is Matthew K. Pickleball with Wilson for episode 5 of Is This a Pickleball Podcast? The question we're still trying to answer. And once again, I'm Matthew K. Pickleball, and this is my co-host, Wilson. So, Wilson, we've got a lot to cover today, so let's just get right into it. How was your week? How was your weekend? That's the most
It was.
pressing, that is the most pressing topic for our audience. So, how have you been?
I'm doing good. I didn't get to play too much over the weekend. I had a lot of errands to do, but on Saturday I was able to put in almost 2 hours with the Zenith pickleball machine. It was great, you know. It's a partner that's always down to hit with. So yeah, I got to get that. I got to do some drilling, work on my backhand, and then my backhand dink roll. Um, yeah, and then on Monday I was off of
Wilson,
work. What's
you're
up?
one of the few that gets to play with the
I know.
Zenith pickleball machine.
Zenith.
Zenith, yes. But folks, if you're interested in that, our last podcast, comment what price point you think you would still be down. Because I'm trying to get Picklin to bring that thing back. So definitely comment down there. But so you did some drilling, and then what were you saying?
Yeah, so I did some drilling on Saturday. Didn't get to play on Monday. Sunday. Went for a nice run around your part of the neighborhood. And then I got to play a little bit Monday morning because I'm a government worker, so I got Cesar Chavez off. So awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, how about you?
Well, I mean, Buffy, my dog, she had a tummy ache. I gave her too much salmon oil and learned from that. But Wilson, you've been playing so much pickleball, you forgot the big news. And that's that we played together. You let me
Yes,
crash one of your home courts. Apparently, folks, I this is the second home court of Wilson's that I've been
many home courts, huh?
allowed to go to. This guy knows everyone in the greater Los Angeles area. Every court is his home court. But I went and played up over at Monterey Park and had a really good time. But we dealt with some major wind, and I feel that you brought that up last podcast, and
Hmm.
because you mentioned that, we then had to go
Jinxed it.
play in hurricane weather. And that was interesting. It was interesting to warm up on one side going with the wind and then playing on the side going against the wind. And I think I prefer going against the wind just because it was a pretty hard to calibrate out balls or hitting too deep with the wind. But I did enjoy that. Finally won some games on a challenge court, having Wilson there as my partner, and
I
had
think
a
we
really
won
good
all of
time.
them actually.
On the challenge court, yeah, we
Yes.
were undefeated. That is not a familiar feeling for me in pickleball, so that was a lot of fun. And so yeah, thanks for having me, Wilson. Hopefully, if the Zenith pickleball machine doesn't have too much personality, you'll invite me back and I can play with you some more. But I guess let's just chug along because Wilson, I know I sent you an agenda, but there's even more to cover than I sent
Let's
you.
do it.
So what are we testing right now? Wilson, I know you got a little sneak peek. Speaking of Picklin, I know you got a little sneak peek at a prototype that they're working on, the Picklin Helios 3, and this
Yeah.
paddle's in 14 millimeter. If you guys haven't seen it already, I've done a review of their latest paddle, the Electo 3. That's 16 millimeter Gen 3, and that's on the channel. And there's a giveaway running, so definitely check that out. But you did you get many hits with this one? I can't remember.
Yeah. I actually got in a drill session with you with that. It's a great paddle. It has the pop of a 14 millimeter, but it has the plushness of a 16 millimeter because I believe it is a Gen 3, right?
So they just sent this to me, and I'm actually getting clarification. But based off of their naming convention and what you just said, I think it is a Gen 3. I actually haven't gotten to hit with it. But yeah, it sounds like you it sounds like it hit hard, but was plush in the soft game. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah, it hit hard, it had the pop, but it was also soft at the same time. I think you would like it with a little more weight on the sides, though. I think you would.
Wilson says that, but he doesn't know, folks, that I have really been enjoying what I'm testing right now are the JOOLA Perseus 4 in both 14 millimeter and 16 millimeter. And last week we talked about Gen 3 paddles, not to be confused with JOOLA 4, but we mean Gen 3 paddles, meaning extra foam enhanced cores, being, we sort of came up with, I think, a pretty controversial take, which is the feeling of Gen 3 paddles is power on harder hits, but plushness on softer hits.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm really taking away with these JOOLA paddles, which I'm going to be working on this review soon. Very interesting. And I have found myself really leaning towards the 14 millimeter. And I'm curious because Picklin's previous Helios model, they're not their Gen 3 one, but their old one was sort of like a take on a JOOLA paddle. So I'm curious to sort of hit these side by side. I might have to wait till the production model comes out, but I have really been enjoying the 14 millimeter. It has all the power that I need. I'm not actually super comfortable with much more power. I found the 16 millimeter, I was hitting deep, and so I guess I gotta get way better on my top spin to really enjoy this paddle. But this one, the 14 millimeter, was right in the sweet spot for me. And I'm not really an elongated person. And so this one, though, still felt very quick in my hands. And so I'm working on that review. That's coming up. And so I'm excited. I haven't really played with JOOLA paddles before, and I've really been enjoying that. And now, was there anything else you're testing that you want to talk about? I don't. I
No,
don't
not
think
at the
so. Yeah.
moment.
So let's.
You haven't been sending me anything to demo yet.
I'm working on it. We're gonna talk about that in a second. There's something coming up, but I
Oh,
did want
okay.
to. Well, you already know about it, so don't get too excited. But I did want to sort of the topic I wanted to bring up, kind of our speed round, speed topic, because we got a lot of stuff to cover. What are your thoughts, Wilson, on court advice? So, folks giving you advice while you're playing. What do you think about that? Any hot takes?
For me personally, I'll take any advice as I can. I'm okay. I'm personally open to advice given to me, but I like to test the water when thinking about giving advice to others. I understand some people are just there to have fun and they don't care. They just want to get in that cardio and call it a day, right? So I like to test the water and see if they want to receive any advice. If not, that's cool. The rest of the game will be like, good job, almost, next time, next try. But other than that, I like to test the water. I don't assume everybody wants advice.
That's good, Wilson, because I am not someone that always wants unsolicited advice. I have played a lot of open play, and yes, I don't love receiving advice, but I am open to it. But here's sort of my rule of thumb, especially when you're playing with people you don't know. If you're going to give advice, do it once. And have if you want to give some sage wisdom to somebody, give them only one piece because it's really hard to take on two notes of improvement. And so I suggest if you're going to give unsolicited advice, stick to one thing, and that actually is something your random partner might be able to incorporate into that specific game. But I'd say don't give me more than two things. I'm a one thing at a time person. However, I like to give advice. So I'm a bit of a hypocrite. But I do try to abide by that rule that I just said. And so, yeah. And I think definitely um, just kind of gauge your audience. Some people don't want that and it messes them up. And if you're giving a lot of notes, like remember why you're there. It's how we end every video, Wilson. Just have some fun. So
Yes.
yeah. Uh
But I think you made a good point about just giving one advice. Number one, if they do want the advice, it's something that they can work on in that one game. You can't, jump half a duper level in one game, right? So something they can focus on. And also, if they take it, they take it. If not, that's the end of it. End of the advice, right?
right.
So there you
Yeah,
go.
so one thing at a time, folks, and just remember, we're having fun here. Um, all right. Speaking of advice, we've got a new section, and this section is presented by your favorite net, SwiftNet.
Awesome.
And we're doing a little bit of gameplay analysis, and I'm actually trying to get a discount code from SwiftNet. I might have it by the time this podcast airs. If I do, it's Matthew K, but it's at their site, and I'll be sure to leave a link. Otherwise, it's the same as last week. Email lcox at crtc-wa.org and you'll get 20 bucks off if you say Matthew K Pickleball sent you. They'll give you a code. So you'll be getting a SwiftNet for 350 bucks. But once again, if I get that code, I'll definitely update the info. But I thought for this section, gameplay analysis. All right, Wilson, I'm asking for the advice. We've had a few sessions. You've already given me some advice, so I could remind you what you told me. Otherwise, what is the advice you'd give me? Someone trying to get to your level. I want to be in Wilson beast mode. So, what are some things that you noticed that I could work on?
You're not that far behind, to be honest. I think one major takeaway recently from the most recent few times we've played was that I noticed that you tend to stand upright quite a bit. Like everyone says,
I'm
you want to
lazy.
be in. It's more comfortable, right? It's easier on the legs and everything, but you want to get to a low stance. The low stance allows you to get ready for the next incoming shot. You are it allows you to do a split step more easily. You're just more prepared for any shot. It actually helps you when you're in the same line of sight with the ball that's coming at you. You can see the ball for a longer period of time versus if you were standing up above the ball and watching it fly from a different perspective. So yeah, get low, stay low, be aggressive. Don't stand flat-footed on your heels. Get ready, split step, and react to the ball.
Yeah, and I definitely digging through the footage, trying to get some playback clips for some of the paddle reviews we've been working on. I definitely caught myself being a little lazy in some of that, and so I love when I play with you, no matter if it's a competitive game or we're just fooling around. Your fundamentals are always there, and I think you're right.
Okay.
I need to focus on just being in my ready position all the time because that's really how you build that muscle memory and that habit. And then one other thing that you mentioned to me in the parking lot when I told you, Wilson, make me a better player, you had told me I need to be confident at the kitchen in particular and be ready for fast responses, fast counters. And I think that goes hand in hand with just staying low, being ready, having the right mindset. Um, and then, I'm not going to be able to help you go any higher level, but I did have some advice for anyone listening. I think a pretty good general rule of thumb, sort of piggybacking off what we were just talking about, that is in your rec play, if you're trying to use your rec play to get better, which I imagine if you're listening to this podcast, you are, focus on one thing at a time. And really use your rec play. That game, this is what I want to do. Or that day, this is what I want to do. Work on one thing at a time. And then another thing that I have to just say, because I've been encountering this with some folks I've been playing with, don't be afraid to take a step back off the kitchen to give yourself some extra time, especially like the game's getting faster and maybe you're not as fast as the people across from you. And I would say don't like just don't be afraid to take a step back and give yourself some more time. And that's really, I think, something people are like, I think some folks have the habit of like, you've got to get to the kitchen, you've got to stay there, don't lose ground. And they only retreat if there's a lob or something. And I would just say, don't be afraid to take a little step back from the kitchen as this play is getting more and more aggressive. And then one other recommendation, I listened to a podcast called 4-0 to Pro, and it's a bite-sized podcast where they like do a tip a week. And I really like that podcast. It works for my kind of brain, which is like, I just need like one thing at a time. And they do a really good job. And now I think we need, did you have anything else, Wilson? I saw your
Yeah,
mouth open.
yeah, just a quick, you know, just going off what you just said about stepping back off the line. If you look at the pro women's doubles, they're always in a bunch of awesome firefights, hand battles and stuff. And you'll notice that they're a foot or two off the kitchen line, because it gives them that extra millisecond or however long to react to the ball. And with all the power paddles nowadays, balls can be flying at you pretty fast. So you need any time, any advantage you can get.
There you have it. Wilson agrees. Sometimes the best thing to do, both in pickleball and life, is to take a step back, get some perspective, and figure out your next move. So, all right, on that note, it's time for some new gear alerts. And we're talking about training a little bit. We're talking about how to get better. I think in the past we've mentioned, speaking of fast hands, we've mentioned the Dinkmaster Pro as a really good tool to practice fast hands, doing your wall drills. I have a review of that on the channel. Definitely check it out. There's a discount for them. It's a really cool training tool if you have the space for it where you live. It's a little tough with apartment living out here in LA, but I'm envious. I see all the influencers like in the Midwest or the people that have big houses, like they could have 8 Dinkmaster Pros where they're living. But very jealous. But if you have the space, it's definitely a really cool tool. But not every tool, not every piece of gear takes up a lot of square footage. In fact, Wilson, we've got a little prototype of a device that's coming probably around May or June. Do you already have it on there? Oh, nice. So this is called the Trigger Grip Pro. It's coming once again around May or June. But Wilson and I were actually talking about the other week on the podcast about how to change the balance point. And well, do you want to talk a little bit about what this might help with and piggyback off what we discussed on the other podcast?
Yeah, so I think this is a great training tool. It helps you add more leverage to your shots. Um, like it says, it's like a trigger. You can really put your index finger in there so that when you do your forehand drives, you have something to really latch on to. Same with your backhand drives or ground strokes. But the most important fun thing I've learned that I could use this with is the backhand roll at the net. You can really get good leverage off of your handle with this.
Nice. And
Yeah.
so is it helping you? I mean, so I would compare it to a device I used is called it was called the Grip Fixer. And this is a similar tool. So what Wilson has, this is a prototype, and so it's like 3D printed with some Velcro, and we're sort of doing some first look at this, but I think it's going to become a silicone piece similar to this. And so, unlike the Trigger Grip Pro, this actually goes towards the bottom of your handle, and it's to help you learn in pickleball, it's to help you learn continental grip. And when I started playing pickleball, I didn't come from a paddle sport. And so I was actually just shifting my grip all the time. And it was creating a lot of issues. I didn't even know I was doing it. And I really didn't, I couldn't figure out what to do. I was really like, and so I'd gone down a rabbit hole. And this was actually a tool at the time for tennis for little kids to learn how to just keep their hands still. And it gives you these little grooves to sort of know where your notches are or where your hand placement is. And I found this super helpful when I had that issue. I actually did a whole video on this when I first started doing videos, and now they make it as well for pickleball. But I'm excited to see this and how to utilize it for learning something else and getting a little bit more of assistance. Because for this thing, your fingers had to be locked in place, but this trigger grip, like you don't have to be there the whole time. Was that your experience when you were testing it out?
Um, I think overall it's a great training tool, just like your previous um, tool that you were using right there. For drilling and trying to master your strokes, it's really good to have. But one thing I did notice though when I was playing game, like when I'm in an actual game situation, is that sometimes you want to adjust your grip a little bit,
Yeah.
minute adjustments, and this could affect it a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the same with the grip fixer. Like once it's really, I'm not sure. I'm excited to test this out, but it might just be a training tool. So you utilize it when you're working on something, but not
mm,
necessarily utilizing it in a game. I found it difficult once I sort of use this tool to maintain my grip, which is really what this was for. Um, Once you advance a bit, you are a little more flexible with your grip. Like I highly recommend folks stick with the Continental uh, until they know why they're not. But yeah, I just think I'm super excited. This doesn't take up a whole room. So anything to get a little edge or a little help without paying for a coach is awesome. So I'm excited to see what this turns out to be. And so moving on, new gear alerts. All right, Wilson. You know, you know I'm a Honolulu lover. I love their paddles. Well, did you know that the J2 Ti Plus could get any better? Well, they now have the beautiful gold version. It's out. Promo code Matthew K works with this one, I believe. I can't wait to get some ball dust on this baby. And
that's beautiful.
oh yeah, and it's as gritty as it can get. And so that's out now. And then Honolulu though has released something else that I think a lot of folks have been asking them to do, and I think they are pretty hesitant. I'm not sure, but I think the J2K was so popular. I think it was the top paddle for so many reviewers last year was because I don't have one. Well, I do. The 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 OG J2 shape of Honolulu's has these thick bottom shoulders down here, which helps the paddle have more stability. So you get a huge sweet spot, and it's just very secure. Like, and that's great for an all court. But lots of people didn't like how crowded the handle is for two handers. And so they've listened, people. Honolulu, they hear things. And they've now have the J2XK. And so the X means extended handle. And so I don't know how well you can see it, but basically what Honolulu's done is, yeah, you can see it pretty well. It's actually the same 16.2 inches long as the normal J2K, but they shaved down that thick bottom So now you have an extended handle for the all the people that want the two-hander. So they have
Nice. I'm gonna
that.
have to try that one.
I know, I'm excited. They have that, the J2XK, and they also have their Pro version with that tighter Kevlar weave. And so obviously you'll probably lose some stability, but this is going to tie into what else I want to talk about in a little while, because maybe we don't need as much stability in pickleball as we might think. Maybe we don't need these fat bottoms, and we're gonna talk more about that in a little bit. But back on our gear alerts, I wanted to show you this, Wilson. Oh my gosh, avalanche, everybody. Um, so I have some new paddles from a company called Joel, and I've actually done a review on some of their other paddles, some of their older Gen 2 paddles, but this is their take on Gen 3. And just sort of like Picklin, I'm curious to see how some of these smaller brands are tackling Gen 3. And I enjoyed their previous Kevlar paddle. It was super, super plush. So not like the Honolulu J2K, probably closer to 6-0's Ruby take. It was super plush. And so I'm curious how this plays. And then new gear alert. Ugh. So we got this. This is a Quintelix sent me this, and I've seen this kind of paddle before. This is a 20 millimeter paddle. I actually have some fondness for that thickness, but the thing that that company actually got on my radar for was this.
Hey, I have one too.
And I want you to tell us about it because this is one of the cheapest training paddles you can get. It's like 30 bucks on Amazon, and just feeling it, it feels hefty. It feels like it's got some weight in the head. So I know you have this. This is your trainer. Like,
Mhm.
what is it like? Give us a little quick take. Give us a mini review.
Yeah, so like any um sweet spot trainer, it has a very tiny head. It's a great tool to use to warm up or do some drill sessions with. It really makes you focus on the contact, the paddle to ball contact. You really have to keep your eye on the ball as it makes contact with your shots, your paddle. Also, it's really fun when you can get four people with these sweet spot trainers and go at it because it
Yeah.
really kind of brings pickleball back to when I started in 2022. Like when you had just very basic paddles and nothing with super high grit or super powerful paddles. It just makes pickleball kind of fun
Yeah.
again.
I agree. Also, folks, Wilson's being modest. He pulls this out occasionally when I play with him and is still destroying. But yeah, a sweet spot trainer, just like the other training tools we mentioned, are for training, not necessarily playing full on games, although you can play full on games. But most of these sweet spot trainers are lower power paddles. And so it can make that tricky, but obviously, having that smaller face, and this is really small, having that smaller face helps your train your hand-eye coordination, and so you'll ideally start hitting the sweet spot on a bigger paddle, which is a transition almost. We got one more paddle alert, one more gear alert, which is Gherkin. All right. So Gherkin came onto the scene last year. They released some paddles with some silicone edge guards, but now they've come out with these are prototypes of the Nightshade, is what they're calling it. They're 14 millimeters thick, and they're utilizing 10 millimeter cells. So we talked about 10 millimeter cells in one of our previous podcasts, and I am super excited to hit with these. And they have a carbon fiber, fiberglass carbon fiber layup. And the hybrid one here is supposed to have a 112 swing weight and 6.17 twist weight, and the elongated 117 with a 6.15 twist weight. And so I've been told the edge guard color is going to change, even though these look freaking
Oh, that looks
awesome.
awesome
So
though.
I don't know what they're changing it to, but I'm excited to hit with these. But I'm mentioning this. First off, Gherkin seems like a cool brand. I haven't hit with their paddles yet, but I actually bumped into one of their employees at one of my courts in Pasadena. He does video for them, and he was super nice. He was sporting the Gherkin gear, and I also play in a league I did a long time ago. A girl had a Gherkin. I'm always shouting, "It's the Gherkin!" And she loves her paddle. And what's cool about those older ones, that silicone edge guard uh, was basically like some heavy duty perimeter weighting, and it gives some people some extra oomph on their swings. But it's cool to see Gherkin experiment. I mean, they came out of the gate experimenting, but using 10 millimeter cells, that's super exciting. And I really wanted to mention them because you're just talking about how doing those games with the sweet spot trainers is throwback. Well, that's what this podcast is about. Tiny paddles might be taking over pickleball. And so Gherkin has created their own trainer, okay? Except this thing, it's 60 millimeters, but it's also utilizing 10 millimeter cells with a carbon fiber, fiberglass carbon fiber layup. So this is going to have a very interesting feel. It's 15 inches long, and I've been told, has a twist weight of 2.5 with an 84 swing weight. So once again, this is a training paddle. Get that hand-eye coordination going. I've been
What is it
told
called?
this is a family-friendly
Okay.
podcast. So it's just called G Spot Trainer, and I have no commentary on it. G Spot Trainer. Just be careful what you Google. I'll leave a link to the Gherkin site, so don't go clicking on the wrong things. But they're shooting for early to mid-April to release all these new paddles. They are changing this one to be a little lighter, and this handle is probably super close to the Franklin trainer. It is thick, beefy boy, and so they're slimming that down. And so that's pretty exciting. And so what I wanted to do, Wilson, I want to talk tiny paddles. All right? Because I think they
Sounds
might
good.
be taking over. I think this could be the next big thing. And so we really saw tiny paddles come onto the scene the way Wilson was just talking about. It all started with the classic Franklin trainer. Mine's got a little dust on it. Haven't been doing all the practice I need to do. But this bad boy was like the most popular Franklin paddle of that year. People weren't digging their other. This was before the C45. They weren't digging all the paddles, but this one folks loved. And then after that, there's just a slew of trainers came out. Couple that I have liked. This one is from Fluid, and I think they're just a brand that only does trainers. And I just liked how it had this paddle cover. I just thought that was so cute. But you got this trainer here, the from Fluid, and then I have this one here from Pickle Madness, which is a pretty cool pickleball like paddle vendor. But they make their own trainer. And I actually have a discount for them. They're pretty interesting. And then this one from a company called Figurology, and when they released this, they actually had trainers with different surfaces. I can't remember everything that they were. I think there is one with fiberglass. I can't remember exactly. And I always thought it would be cool to hit those all side by side, but I wasn't ever able to get them. And then I checked on their site today, and I'm not sure they make them anymore. But just another trainer with a little bit of a different shape. You can see this one's flare is it's pretty dramatic, or I guess gradual is how you describe it. But I thought it'd be cool if we did a battle of the training paddles as
You
well.
should.
So we had the same idea, but that really kicked my brain kicked my brain into gear, because not all tiny paddles are training paddles. So training paddles they don't really give you everything you need to like be super competitive and do certain kinds of shots. They don't have obviously they don't have a lot of forgiveness. And one company though that wanted to look at small paddle faces but treat them not as training paddles, but look at them as real paddles, is a company out in Hawaii called Pico. And we've talked about them before because one of their paddles made my top paddle list of last year, but they really came onto the scene with two different versions, actually more, but they had the Spoon 2, which is a smaller face, and this is a Kevlar build, and this is thermoform. This thing hits. All right, this is a real paddle, and you can Google videos. Like there's some guys in Hawaii that just kill with these paddles. And then they came out with a little bit of a bigger one, which was intended to like just be quieter. And it's a Kevlar face, and it's just a bigger face. And this one I've always really enjoyed. But Pickle actually has released a new paddle called the Biggie. And so it's even bigger. This is the Spoon 2. And so you can see they've stretched it out. But what's cool about the paddles, and so this is a Kevlar construction, 7-inch handle. And if you're accurate, this thing just whips, these tiny paddles just cut through the air. They're more aerodynamic, right? Have you played with any of the Pico paddles?
I have hit with a few for a few minutes, and I do like them. You're right, they do whip through the air, especially on windier days, like when we played last week. Standard shaped paddles tend to catch the wind, and it
Yeah.
really throws you off. And if it doesn't like make your paddle like twist, you have to like really use a lot of muscle to get your swing to get the ball to go anywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's great to have options like that.
Yeah, so if you're accurate, it's just a tool you can have in your bag. Because like when you're doing a training paddle in rec play, like it's usually when you're playing with lower level people. Um, but like these, you could use the Pico paddles in an actual competitive game.
And they're
Which,
USAP approved, right?
yeah, you could play with them at at a tournament. But this isn't Pico isn't the only company that's been trying to look into slimming the paddle down, making it as aerodynamic, um, and also giving them some swing weight. So a company that I've always been a big fan of is Ethos, and they created this paddle called the Erte. I think that's how you said that. I'm sure that commenter will let me know if I'm saying it wrong. But the Erte, and this is like a spade like design. It's just got a very different profile. And it scoops through the air. It's got really good drive as well. When Pickleball Will used to make review videos, he actually really liked this paddle as well. And I made a video of this one, sort of like contemplating if this is the direction paddles would go. And I think there is less exploration with changing the silhouettes of paddles in the last since that video was made, and more about how the interiors of paddles were made. But I still think we actually might see this as folks get more accurate. And I love they got this cool pink edge guard. They've got a black edge guard, and then they recently did this really nice blue one that's super unique color. I really like that. But then Ethos, they're a smaller company, but they're I love these small companies that actually do innovation, like create their own molds and are like doing R&D. And they created after that paddle, and they had some other cool paddles as well. They created this one though, which was just super unique. It's called, once again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right because it's Greek. It's the Dunamis, Dunamis. And so this was a 14 millimeter paddle, and you got the little air holes. But it was with 6 millimeter cells. And I play with this like just a little bit. I still am not, haven't made a dedicated video on it. But it has some serious pop. And that dense core, I've talked about it on the channel before, like 6 millimeter cells I'm a fan of. But in 6 millimeter cells plus 14 millimeter, that pop's pretty intense. And so they actually evolved it even more and made this paddle, which is the one I'm really excited to try, and I think this might really suit my game. This is the Dynamis Pro, and so this one's 16 millimeters. They removed those airflow holes, and what's really unique about this paddle is it's utilizing a material in its surface layup that I don't think other paddles have used before. It's called Vectren, and it's supposed to really help with vibration dampening. And so I'm excited to hit with this one. And then that folks actually might know Ethos already. I don't know if you're familiar with this. Everyone knows Hessicore grips, right? We've been talking about tools. I actually think you use one on your paddle, right?
Yes, I do.
And so what does that do for you, Wilson? What does a Hessicore grip do?
Um, Number one, I do like it for the shock absorbing characteristics. It's made out of some sort of rubber or a silicone. So I feel like it absorbs more shock than the traditional standard original grips that come with the paddles. Also, I like how the hexagonal holes allows my fingers to really just naturally fall into place. I'm able to have the same amount of grip strength without actually gripping the paddle any harder with these
Right.
type of grips.
Yeah, so the Hessicore thickens the grip up, dampens vibration, and really gives you good feedback for how you position your hand. Well, Ethos, as I said, they're using a surface that is for vibration dampening. So they're obviously very interested in that. And they actually created this, is what sort of like a lot of people liked, and probably know Ethos for. This is their take on it's their pro undergrip. And so it's got a bit of a different design. And so I think this might be something cool for you to test out, Wilson, since you've
Sure.
done the Hessicore for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I want to test one out as well. But that people really are liking that, and so let's get to testing. But I love the Arte, and I think Ethos is doing some great stuff, and I like how they're creating cool things for pickleball. Like I just love it. And so they're in that family though of making competitive paddles, but with small silhouettes. But that's not all. That's not all. There's a new player in town. Um, you might have seen these on social media, but there's a company called Slap that has, or this is the Slap show, and I believe the company is Slap. I'll be sure to leave a note down in the description, but they have come up with a wholly unique shape. And I would say it's in the same vein as the other paddles we've been talking about. And I actually did talk to the owner of this company to get a little bit of background. And so the show stands for Superior Hand Optimization. And this guy, the owner, the designer, I believe he's a senior pro or plays on the senior pro circuit. And he comes from racquetball. And I actually play with another really advanced player, younger guy from racquetball, and they just play pickleball differently. And in racquetball, like they're playing with like a much smaller ball, and so hand-eye coordination, accuracy, like that's something they have dialed in. And so this is like another kind of paddle. Like if you've got your hand-eye coordination, this is something that might be worth exploring. And I'm gonna test this one out because I've just never hit with a paddle with this shape, and it uses some cool surfaces. And I do think though, like for these kinds of paddles, for the Dunamis, the show or the slap show, and then even the Pico paddles, like it's not all about stats. It's not all about twist weight and swing weight. It's about taking it out and getting a feel for it and knowing though that these aren't trainer paddles. They've got a lot of stuff in them that you could play some competitive pickleball. And so they're not for everyone. They're definitely niche paddles, but I think we might see all paddles start to slim down because power is going to require fast response. And so I think we're evolving the cores, we're evolving how powerful, how poppy paddles are, but we're also going to have to get that hand speed up to be able to react. And so I think it might be something we see. What do you think, Wilson? Do you think we're going to see tiny paddles?
I unfortunately, you know I'm an elongated guy. I like
Yeah.
my elongated paddles.
These are
Rel
long.
I know, relatively narrow. I'm not a big fan of standard shape or even hybrid paddles. However, I'm seeing a lot of hybrids and even more, and even some standard shape paddles more and more at the public courts.
Sure.
Um, like for example, 11624, I think their Vapor is their more popular
Yeah.
shape, and then comes their Pegasus, which is their standard shape. I think those two are out of stock right now, and the only one that is in stock is the Hirachi X shape.
Uh,
I think like, bread and butter, they have the Fat Boy, and then they have the Invader. I I think people want that they want the lower swing weight, which is what the standard and hybrid shapes bring, but they also have that surface and sweet spot that everybody loves during, hand battles and stuff. So
okay.
we'll see who's right. Okay,
All
maybe
right.
we'll follow up in maybe a year or so.
Yeah, so you're not as optimistic that these will take. Oh, hey, Hoka. Uh, you're not as optimistic, but let me rephrase the question. What about for advanced play? Do you think because you're not hitting off here, you're not hitting these spots, so that's sort of like the owner of this company was really like adamant about like the idea like this is just wasted space. The thing that I think it does give you is stability, right? Even if you're not hitting down there, it gives you stability. But if you get accurate enough, like racquetball players, they've got to be accurate. And so if you get high level enough, maybe your ball dust is just right there. So I don't know. Maybe for more advanced players, I don't know, on the pro circuit, I guess they do have to like rep paddles that they want to sell like a big market to, or a lot of folks. But I don't know. I think if enough advanced players hit with these and like them, I think we might see it. Like there's definitely some benefits. I think I'm gonna hit with these and maybe we can talk some more about it.
I think it might be beneficial more in singles. But we'll see, we'll see.
All right, all right. But we couldn't talk about tiny paddles without talking about tiny pickleball accessories. And so, Wilson, I'm a fan of the Beezer mini training balls. I've mentioned these in multiple videos. These are the best training balls you can find, in my opinion. These are not like the ones a lot of companies sell that are just hard plastic. Actually, they're hard plastic golf driving practice balls that I'm just when they hit, like they feel like they're gonna dig a hole right into the paddle layup, the right into the paddle surface. These have a softer feel, and they're very flexible. They're made of. Oh, sorry, podcast listeners. They're if you they've got some flex to them, and supposedly they have a very similar bounce to a normal pickleball. They're just smaller, right? And so this combined with the training paddles or maybe the pico paddles, I think that could be some fun. But Beezer actually just released this nice little carrying case clip. And I like that because I always had like they'll fall out of your pocket, and so now you can put it on your bag. They have a nice secure place.
That's
I've
super
got
cool.
yeah, I'm a huge fan of Beezer. Like the guy there is very cool. And yeah, so check that out if you haven't already. I'll try to link one of my reviews to to here. But oh yeah, Wilson, what?
One thing too, also because they're made out of a softer rubber material than a traditional pickleball, you can hit with it inside your home, and
Yeah.
it's much quieter than traditional pickleball.
What
So there's that too.
is your wife okay with you doing that, Wilson?
Yeah, yeah. I can hit with it in the kitchen or against the door. It's not so bad. Yeah.
All right. Well, you got to have some. Yeah, I have tried to get away with a few hits, but I don't have a good wall in my apartment. I try to do it on a sliding closet door, and the closet door kind of moves. But yeah, if you got a wall, jealous. I'm jealous of people that can store the Dinkmaster Pro. I'm jealous of people that got immovable wall. But I did want to point out we've talked mini paddles, we've talked mini balls. I can't actually show this very well, but this is a bag for, can you believe it? It's for a net, but it's for a really tiny net. It's from a company called Dinkaroo. And basically, they created, kind of made like a camping stool, like how that sort of unfolds. A really easy to unfold mini net, which is the height of a pickleball net. And so you could put that near a wall. You could dink off of a wall and have you don't have to like do a chalk line. You'll have like the actual, you'll have a net in front of you. And you could also take this up. I like to take it to open play when there are long lines. You go to the sidewalk with someone else and you do some dinking on the sidewalk, and you've got a net. You can see your ball go over, and that's called the Dinkaroo. And promo code Matthew K should work with all of these products. So definitely check that one out. I'm hoping to sort of get that featured in a video sooner than later. And were there any other? I know I didn't tell you we were doing micro mini accessories today, but is there any tiny pickleball thing you wanted to mention?
Um,
No pressure.
no, I don't think so at the moment. But you should definitely bring that Dinkaroo around next time we hang out. I want to give that a try. I'm really interested in that.
All right, definitely. Yeah, Wilson. At the beginning of the podcast, you told me about all this playing you've been doing. Where are the texts, Wilson? Where are the texts? Let me know. I'll come out. I'll bring the Dinkaroo. And then this is now time for the most beloved section of the podcast. It's Wilson's tip of the week, presented by BodhiPickleball. BodhiPickleball. They're a great place to get over grips, tungsten weight, all your pickleball accessories. I don't know if they have miniature accessories like we've been talking about, but they've got some really good over grips. Check them out. Promo code Matthew K works over there. But Wilson, what do you have for us? The tip of the week.
Yeah. So this week I wanted to remind everyone about the mental part of pickleball. A lot of people tend to like, when you make mistakes and stuff, you tend to just like remember all the mistakes you've made, and that kind of drags you down during an actual game. One thing I want to tell everyone, and I always remind my partners, if we've lost a few points in a row, that it's okay. Don't dwell on previous points. The previous points are in the past. They don't have any effect on your current point. So what I always remind my partners, if they're feeling down or if they're having a rut in the game, if they're in a rut in the game, I remind them that, focus on your current point. Give your full attention and energy into the current point and the following points. What happened in the past has no effect on what's going to happen in the future. You could be down 0-10. it wouldn't matter because if you were able to catch up and win, that's that's all that matters, right? So don't dwell on the past, all right? Focus on the current point. Strategize, anything, just give your 100% to the current point.
All right, folks, you heard it from Guru Wilson this week. Live in the now, play in the now, and I agree 100% with this philosophy, especially with pickleball. That's the if you miss a point, that's in the past. You need to exist and play in the current point. So I think that's sage wisdom coming from Guru Wilson. Thank you, Bodhi, for presenting this segment. Awesome. And so now I think it's time to wrap up. Do you have anything that coming up that you want to mention, put on our radar? I know there's some stuff that you're working towards. I don't know if you wanted to mention that now, but yeah, what's coming up for you?
One quick thing so LA is a very crowded city, as Matt would know. But the city of LA's Parks and Rec, they're planning on adding more pickleballs to their parks, which is great news, right? So right now they're gonna have I guess a an online form to see public interest in adding pickleball courts to a local park, Herman Park in LA. So maybe Matt can leave a link
Yeah,
to the
send me the link, Wilson.
yeah, to the Google Doc that the city has. So, if you guys live in LA or nearby or not at all, it's okay. Go ahead and fill in, if you have the time, fill out that form. Let the city know that there is public interest for more pickleball courts. And, maybe we can catch each other at the grand opening.
Awesome. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I think I agree. Like, I was just talking to some folks. I think folks outside of LA don't quite understand like how scrapped together the pickleball scene is. Like I watch all the YouTubers like in the Midwest, or even it's up in the Bay Area. It's south of us too. Like with these massive facilities, like just like pristine and just like I don't think people quite get like our pickleball scene is a little fragmented and it's growing fast, but it's also fragmenting fast. People will play at one park and then like I mean the fires didn't help things either. One of our bigger parks is unusable. And so yeah, I definitely think um I I I I wish our community could get a little more tied together. It's so mixed up and like there's this community here, there's that community here. You've got to know this person to get into that kind of game. And so, yeah, I think it'd be cool if there were like some bigger venues with like more than four courts, more than four nets. And maybe like there could be like areas for learning players, areas for more advanced players, and then hope ideally like opportunities for them to intermingle. But I owe a lot to like the LA like areas like free pickleball at parks. That's where I learned how to play. When I started at the exact right time where the speed of paddles hadn't gotten to the point where everyone was fiercely competitive, that really changed the ethos. I feel like when paddles got so freaking hot, like people's high school energy really came out, which is fine. Like we want competitive pickleball, but like rec play is not always like tournament play. But when I started rec play, it was two learning players and two people that knew what they were doing, advanced players often, and they would split, and you would get to hit balls and do things like and have a competitive game and learn quickly. And now it's changed quite a bit. Like some of the more competitive players want to do their own thing. Some of the learning players have to take a long time to learn because they don't get into those kinds of games. So I do think one solution is just having some courts or places to play that really aren't like makeshift things, that are really thought out and designed. And hopefully, maybe the one that we're gonna link in the description could be that. Like,
Yeah.
it's all possible. And I do think it's really important. Like, what's cool about it being from the ground floor is they could have their policies figured out and like try to think this through, how to cater to all these different audiences. But yeah, very cool. And then on my end, other than wanting to fill out Wilson's survey, I actually do have, I have finally wrapped up my 11.624 Power Paddles review. It's either on the channel now or it will be soon. I don't know whether this will come first or that review will come first. It just depends how I get the editing done. But I have a lot of thoughts on these paddles. And this is the Pegasus one that Wilson talked about, but I cover the Vapor, I cover the Huarache X, and there will be a giveaway. And yeah, the Vapor's been sold out for a while, so definitely watch that video and check out how to win one. It's I've been following 11.624 since their very first paddle, the YSF. I was with like covering their gear before they blew up, before Pickleball Studio fell in love with the old Huarache Control Plus. And I'm just really happy to see like how they've evolved and what they've done with their success, because there are companies that would have taken that success and not run with it in the way that David over there, the owner, and 11.624 did. And so yeah, definitely check out that video. I got a lot of thoughts. And then don't forget about that Picklin. The Electo 3 review is up, and there's a giveaway with that one. That should be running for a couple more weeks. Hoka's trying to enter.
Seems
Does
like
he
it's
want the
dinner
paddle?
time. She's like,
But
it's
yeah,
dinner time.
so check that one out. There's a giveaway running. And then just remember, Hoka, get some food. Wilson, I hope you have a good week. And as far as the YouTube channel goes, as far as the podcast goes, please remember, folks, to like and subscribe. And we both hope that you get to pickle soon. And just don't forget, it's about having fun.